Sweat Equity Podcast. I'm here with the lion growl of Caleb Fuddy.
Howdy, howdy.
We've got an interview set up with Residential Acoustics. Walter Peak, let him know who you are.
Yep. Thanks for having me today, guys. And it's Walker, like Texas Ranger.
Walker?
So that's
Did I
the
say
one.
Walter?
Yeah.
Oh, I already fucked up. Let's get it going. So, I generally don't like to fuck up 30 seconds into the podcast.
It's out of the way now.
Well, I have that thing where, and I'm sure you have the same thing. I think all of us in the room have the same thing where you have like 5 things going at once sometimes, and then you get like almost a homonym of what you heard, someone's name or the name of a business. When someone comes up to me, is like, You do your little skits for stand up? Like, yeah, well, it's not a sketch. A skit's different.
Little's relative.
Yeah, and the condescending little
Yeah, right.
is different. But I apologize. That's my bad. Caleb, you got a plug? You got a plug ready?
Yeah, I wanted to give a shout out.
We don't have an advertiser, so
yeah.
this would be the spot if we had an advertiser that we'd be doing a plug. So
Yeah.
we're just gonna do it for things we like.
Yeah, so I wanted to do my plug for BrokenMold Entertainment. They're actually a kind of music promotions group here, stationed in Ybor and in Tampa. They put on a lot of shows, regional music, regional acts, some national ones as well. And last Thursday we were down at Crowbar, and they put on. So they do this thing called Real Deal, where they'll play a movie. Right, and then they'll have a band come in and they'll do the soundtrack from the movie afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
And they do this at Crowbar down the street from where we're recording now in Ybor. And they decided to do The Last Waltz by the band, which is one of my all-time favorite movies, albums, whatever you want to call it, documentary. And they had all regional acts from Tampa, Orlando, and it was just a kick-ass time. Like, it was unbelievably good.
Yeah.
So they did everything. They hit all the classics, and I want to give them a shout out. They've been doing this for years, and
they're
yeah.
gonna do Straight Outta Compton next. All
Yeah.
white guys, so this is gonna be weird. We're gonna see how that rolls.
I think it's gonna be like a jam band theme from Straight Outta Compton. So we should see how that goes down.
Yeah. So before we get into it, Sweat Equity Podcast, go on iTunes. Give us a 5-star, give us a 1-star, give us something. Just don't give us nothing. Give us a review. Tell us how we can get better. If you have business questions and you want us to answer them on air, we'll gladly do that. law@tocoworks.com is my email, law@tocoworks.com. If you want a nicer email reply, hit up Caleb at the same, Caleb@tocoworks, CALEB
That's right.
TOCOWORKS.com. So, Residential Acoustics, that's the real plug we should give.
Absolutely.
Tell us about, you're the president, CEO, whatever title, owner.
We slap CEO on there, but it's founder, and
I do the same thing.
Yeah, we got a team, and we're not real big on titles and things like that.
I got you. So let's try to illustrate what the product is. I think it's really cool. I heard about it from Casey. Your go-to. What do you want to? I don't know. We don't do titles, so team member Casey. And so let's try to explain what it is exactly, because it's more of a visual,
Sure.
But it actually is more audio related.
Right.
So have at it, I guess.
Sure.
I'm sure you got your elevator pitch.
Oh yeah, and I do this all the time, so I can go as long or short as you want. So just kind of cut me off or give me one of those.
This is a long form, man. And
All right.
there's as you can see, we're drinking on a Sunday morning. Not a lot of professionalism, so I'm not going to give you cut notes or anything.
Cool. So, we started the company about 2 years ago, and Casey, who's my sidekick over here, is our first sales and marketing hire.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something I'm sure we can get into during this long form podcast, is hiring those kind of key hires as you go, because you can bring on, like a virtual assistant or secretary or different hires as you go. We have a production team as well, but then as you start to scale, you realize you need to bring on people who have skill sets that you cannot do.
Right.
And so that was a big hire for us. And in fact, she's the one who helped make this connection today.
And for those listening, she's in the room, just not on the mic. So if you're like, why are they talking about some person that may or may not exist? In relative to the podcast, she's sitting right here, doesn't want to cough on air. And that's fine. What I was trying to say, I guess, I mean, maybe Caleb could give his explanation and you can elaborate on what exactly the product is, because I don't want to say it's drapes. I don't want to say it's not it's blinds, but it's acoustically related. I haven't seen it up close in person, so I don't want to say something that's like you're completely wrong.
No problem. In 30 seconds or less, we do make soundproof curtains and soundproof door panels. So you'll hang it over a noisy window or door in your apartment. If you work right off a busy street or something like that, you can hang it up over those windows. It'll block 80 to 90% of the sound coming through the window, 100% blackout, and also most of the thermal transfer, so heat or cold going through the window. So it's basically an insulating layer. But if you rent an apartment or can't afford double pane windows, which can get quite pricey, especially at larger sizes, you can just put this right over the top, and it gives you a layer or a level of satisfaction, a level of sound attenuation through that window that you can actually just get back to whatever you're doing, whether it's sleeping in a bedroom, working at a home office, or what have you.
And it's really cool. Like I especially the home office part, where more of our generation, late 20s, early 30s, is working from home. And the worst thing you could have is like someone's outside mowing their lawn or something, or a dog's barking, and you're trying to do a business, like this is a really important business call. And like, it's just sort of dog barking outside. It sounds like you're in the hood a little bit. So I was actually thinking about it for our this is a conference room / podcast studio. We probably need it over this pane as we're growing bigger, where we're going to have someone sitting out there as receptionists, and we'll have people working, and people are renting this studio out. So we may have to figure out how to get one, but they look really great too. That's the other thing. They're aesthetically pleasing. They're not like, it's not like, oh, we got the cheapest shit we could possibly and then put it on there.
Yeah, I'm on the website right now, and it looks like a really cool product. The photo here on the website, it kind of just rolls up above the door. And it's not in a way of like it's an eyesore or anything like that. It just looks like it would belong there, and you can just, kind of drop it down whenever you need it. Seems highly functional, and honestly, it looks kind of cool.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued just by the website alone. So that's pretty neat.
And we spent a lot of time optimizing the website, giving people exactly what they wanted to see. So different pictures, got some quality product photos here over the last couple months. And the other product that you'll see on there is the acoustic track, which will glide back and forth. So it's much more functional, easy to open and close if you're doing it multiple times a day. If you just have a window over your bed and you just want to eliminate that window, then the acoustic curtain is an easier
and for those of you who are listening, we'll put the all their product info and how you can find them in the show notes. But it's residential-acoustics.com. Residential-acoustics.com. If you're sitting at a red light right now on your phone, go to their website, check them out, kind of see what they've got to offer, and I guarantee you can think of a room in your house or your apartment where you can use one of these.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I think about wasn't even the acoustic part. It's more of a blackout curtain or drape. What do I call it?
Well, it can be either. A curtain typically ends at the window ledge, just below the window, whereas a drape will go all the way to the floor.
Okay, see, I'm learning things.
Minor difference.
No, I don't know. This is like shit I should know as a 31-year-old. I don't know.
I'll tell you, 2 years ago, I did not know that either, and I had to make like a little cheat sheet next to my computer. So, lots of things like valances and
you had like a Tom Brady like armband. You're like, okay, don't fuck this up. This is the thing I'm doing. So I thought about it almost in the sense that like when I was in college, I'd have blackout curtains because I drank a lot at Auburn, and shocking. And I didn't want to be interrupted with my hangover sleep and then wake up and watch Road Rules Real World Challenges, because that was my hangover show. I think that's even like just the fact that ignore even the real value of it, of the acoustic part, but it's blackout and it looks cool. It's got almost a canvasy kind of texture.
Yeah, it's called duck cotton canvas is our aesthetic layer fabric that we use.
It even sounds fancy, man.
Right?
duck cotton canvas.
That sounds like a character in an 80s movie when they were really racist on Asians.
Oh, that's just
duck cotton.
That's duck cotton.
Yeah.
And so you'll find that your situation wasn't really unique to Auburn. At Florida, we had the same thing. And even nowadays, last night we go out and have some beers. And I don't want to wake up when the long guys, next door.
Right.
So, and in college, you'll find a lot of people just put heavy comforters or covers over their window and just kind of staple them or nail them to the wall.
There you
Always
go.
classy.
All right.
This is something where it's going to cost a little bit more, starting at $100 or so. And you can, for larger, like double or, sliding glass doors. That was hard to get out this morning.
That's all good.
Those will go for $200 to $250 or somewhere in that range. So
Right.
depending on how big your opening is, we can give you just something that just, get that light, get the heat so you don't have to run the AC in your bedroom unit, and get the sound from waking you up in the morning, kind of kill all three of those.
And this is something, it seems like, correct me if I'm wrong, just it's a one-time cost.
Yes.
There's no maintenance really or upkeep. I mean, you'd probably clean them like you'd clean curtains, I guess.
We'll see people who sometimes they'll get one for their bedroom just above their bed, and then they'll find, hey, now the sound's coming in through those other bedroom windows across the room, so they'll get 2 or 3 more to cover those.
Yep.
But typically speaking, people are just getting the one door or one window in their house that's causing them the most issues, most quality of life, concerns, and from their perspective, and just buy this, put it over that portal.
Well, we're kind of in this weird era, like living wise, where we're in Florida. So especially in Florida, it's not quite the urbanization movement's happening more and more. But even in these cul-de-sacs and the developments, you have like a lot of, I feel like you have a lot more ambient noise than you think about.
Yeah.
Especially with the sliding glass doors. That makes me think about like, oh, if you're at the beach, at like one of those communal beach places, and you have a sliding glass door, you're renting out, you can hear everything because usually those things are kind of more of a circle or a horseshoe kind of shape from bird's eye view. So it keeps sound in.
Yeah.
Which is the opposite of what you want when you're on vacation. It's good for hotels, I'm sure, or Airbnb kind of places where you just want to relax. So I think it seems like there's kind of a multitude of ways you can go about it. How do you figure out where to focus on, I guess, your target market, essentially?
Sure. And you just mentioned a couple of the key verticals we focus on. So hotels, for instance, if there's construction next door, sometimes it's not a long-term noise issue or noise source. It'll be short-term, 6 to 12 months. So they don't want to go and re-outfit double-pane sliding glass door windows across their entire hotel. It might be $1.5 to $3 million for them.
Right.
Instead, they could just spend $50,000 to $70,000, get a soundproof window or soundproof curtain in every noise-facing window. And if they get one extra night that they actually sell a room, then they've paid for itself. So that's a value proposition we try to push.
Yeah.
What you've mentioned with the Airbnb and vacation rentals is very interesting to me, because I find that in loud cities, people just adjust pretty quickly. They're just like, hey, this really sucks. Hey, I got no choice.
You forget, like, I stay in New York at my buddy's place, and I'm like, what the fuck? Why is there always a garbage truck?
Yeah.
Like, there's always a beeping of backing up of something, and I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm not used to this. It's like when you don't have kids and your friends have kids, but the kids are going ape shit, and you're like, I gotta go. I gotta get out of this place. This is fucking nightmare. But they've zoned it out because they're used to it. But they're crazy because they still hear it, but they just ignore it. So it's kind of the same thing. Like when I was living in LA, literally you'd have these old apartments that are from the 1960s, 70s, just real hack shit, just real poorly built. Design as well, just fucking horrible, stucco, drywall all over the place. And then your bedroom of all these apartments would go into the alley, but the alley would always have a fucking garbage truck that would always come through and wake your shit up at 6 a.m. Now, it sounds like white people problem shit, but it is one of those things where it's like, we can't think of something better. We can't think of like a way to knock this sound out, or, maybe we don't need that beep so much in the morning, or, if you're in Manhattan, the car's honking and shit. I'm sure it could drive you nuts if you're, closer to the ground level.
And the issue with cities like that where they don't ever sleep, you got multiple shifts going for almost every industry there. The traffic doesn't really ever stop.
Oh, Vegas. So. What about Vegas? And just wanting to I've been doing cocaine for 3 days. I've been drinking. I need blackout and no noise. No one talk to me for 24 hours. I need to recover.
You need the residential acoustics suite.
Yeah. Well,
right.
Now we're talking Luxor. I need the Luxor acoustics. I just think about like every time I've partied with guys in Vegas, they're like, "All right, don't talk to me for like 12 hours, okay? I'm just gonna lay here all day." Like, all right, I'm gonna go to the pool. So let's go backwards. How does this come about? How do you kind of get into this? Like, what's your story? Like, it sounds like you went to UF. So you're Florida Gator. You graduate with
structural engineering.
Oh, okay. So
nice.
In kind of in the area, right?
Okay, so I moved over to Cape Canaveral for a couple of years, and I worked for a company. I had known this lady since childhood, and she owned an engineering firm. So
called NASA. So I just worked for this little company over in Cape Canaveral. Yeah,
you might want to check it out.
Well, so we would do system engineering and architectural trade studies and stuff at Kennedy Space Center, and so I was there for 3 years and. Great job and everything. I have to say it was one of my favorite things I'd ever done, but the social scene there just wasn't going off.
What?
I remember one night we went out with my buddy who I live with, and I had been dating my girlfriend at the time for 4 or 5 years, and we go out and it's like ladies' night at Fish Lips or something. I'm thinking,
what?
That's the name of a bar.
Okay, okay.
So and then
like,
nobody's out.
I didn't know there's strip clubs for NASA people.
Well, so
they've just got on helmets, just space helmets.
Yeah.
There's like 6 people in the bar. We're like, what is going on? It's like the worst ladies' night ever. We drive back home. There's Lido's, gentlemen's lounge on the way home. There's 200 cars in the parking lot.
Nice.
Like, that's where everybody
they need
is
to switch
on a
names.
Wednesday night.
It sounds like Lido's needs to be the no bar. Fish Lips needs to be.
That's a company with a sound social media marketing strategy.
Yeah, we were talking about it last episode. Hey, they've got signage. You saw it, and they had social media presence.
Everybody knows about Lido's in Cape Canaveral, but
there you go.
Is that just? There's not much else going on in Cape Canaveral.
That was the kind of eureka moment where I said, "Hey, I can't be spending the rest of my 20s here." And actually, I had 2 or 3 really close friends there, but if they weren't going out, then I wasn't going out. There just wasn't anything going on for our age group. So I came over to Tampa and then got engaged to my girlfriend, Liz, and we both moved to Tampa. She's in residency here at USF.
Okay.
Nice.
And so she's studying one night upstairs, and I'm trying to watch some basketball. I'm a big basketball fan, NBA.
Yeah.
And she just kept saying, hey, I can hear everything on the TV, and I kept turning it down and got all the way down to like level 4, can't even like hear
Which
the
is
commentators.
nothing, yeah.
Right. And she's like, yeah, I can still hear it, and I'm like,
You're like, I'm calling this marriage off.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm going to go stand upstairs and see if I can
First
hear
thing
it.
I would have called was bullshit.
Can I get
would've
that
been
ring
like,
back?
There's no way you can hear that.
This was before the engagement, so I had some thinking to do.
And then, like, I've thought about this too, getting the headphones to watch TV, but then I'm like, the fuck? I'm a goddamn human in this place, so.
And I think that we were actually drinking some beers that night, me and my buddy, my co-founder of the company. So it might not have been the volume of the TV. We might have just been getting a little louder every beer we finished.
Yeah.
There you go.
But so I started looking for something to hang up over her door for our bedroom door upstairs. And there's like a 3-inch gap like at the threshold there. And so all the sound is just filtering from these hallways with no sound absorption under the door into the bedroom.
Okay.
So I start looking at, I know you guys are looking at some upgrades here, like egg crates and some sound absorbing wood panels and things like that. There's a lot of things to do in a studio environment that makes sense that don't really make sense in an apartment or a house.
Yeah, aesthetically, that's not really going to fly probably with your fiance.
Right, and sometimes here it's more about echo and ambient noise and reverberation, standing waves, things like that. Whereas in the house, it's just hey, I don't want the noise getting into the bedroom at all.
Right.
And that's just end of the story. So I found a product that's been on the market, material that's been on the market for decades for construction, but I set it up so it would hang above the door and roll up and down over the door. And it finally starts, it's working after, a lot of prototypes and stuff. And she goes, hey, it's work. I can finally sleep, but it's really ugly. Nobody's going to buy it. So, that one hurt, But
Sure.
that one hit close to home. But so we get a seamstress up at Lutz, just north of town here, that started sewing. At first, we were using velour, which is like a heavy...
Caleb knows about velour.
Okay, yeah, you know about that.
He used to have all these FUBU
That's
things.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. My jumpsuits, man, they were all velour. Only the finest.
It's a very thick plush type of fabric, but really expensive by the yard. So
That's what you wear at Fish Lips.
Exactly. Yeah. Get the ladies with the velour jacket.
Fuck yeah, man. Is that velour? Oh, what do you work for NASA?
Game over. And so we went from that to now we switched fabrics. We've made a lot of product upgrades, but that was kind of the genesis of the initial product. And since then, we opened our own factory here in Tampa.
Nice.
But when we could no longer outsource the manufacturing, because we do mainly custom products. So every time somebody orders a curtain, it's the exact size window, height and width. They want their own fabric color. They want different strap colors, things like that. So we let them customize it. It became more of a...
What is it, a valance?
We also offer valances,
Okay.
which will basically hide the track hardware above the curtain.
I'm going to tell Caleb what that is. That's do you know what a valance is? Because I didn't know. I had to look this shit up.
I do know, but only because I was on their website. So instead of bashing me, let's go ahead and tell the listeners
didn't know, dude.
who haven't been on the website. No, I
Explain
didn't know, but I looked on the
Use
website.
your words.
So I'm probably going to get this wrong now because I'm put on the spot, and this is how my life goes. But the valance is pretty much an overhang of the curtain that's going to cover all the hardware from the curtain, and you just make it kind of look like it's a part of it.
Yeah, it's like its own little box almost to hide it essentially. But now they're kind of designed that it's part of the design.
Right.
So
and it's the same color as the fabric, so it kind of blends nicely. And you don't see the hooks and the grommets and other stuff up at the top. And a lot of, like, if you go to a hotel,
grommet's an
you'll
ugly
see
word.
those.
Sorry. I get caught up in, like, and whenever I hear grommet, I feel like that should be like a gremlin. Like almost like
that's the first thing that comes to my mind as well. Gremlins. I don't know why. But.
Did you see that guy asking for money? Yeah, what a fucking grommet. Yeah, I don't know. Like he came out of nowhere and punched me. So you have you have a bunch of designs. How do you do it custom? So in my head, you're kind of like Indochino in a sense where I'm looking to get some suits. I got to play the hipster part because we do a lot of branding and online shit. So I'm gonna get some fake glasses and whatever. I'll play dress up to talk to clients and whatnot. They do everything custom. I wonder how that works, almost on a inventory wise, because when a lot of people start with a product idea, they get crushed in production and inventory.
Yeah.
Because either they have too much or not enough. And almost with the online stuff, it might be better to have not enough because you might be able to capture that person's email if they still want it, if it's out of stock but they still want it.
Sure.
So if I went online, I'd give sizes for specific windows just because there's too many variable to deal with. Like there's so many different designs for windows.
And we keep a couple sizes in stock. We'll call those our standard size acoustic curtains. And basically I just went to Lowe's and found the 4 most common sizes they had.
Yep.
Because doors do have a standard size, 36 inches for the ADA, American Disability Act. So it's really easy to have a standard size door. But for standard size windows, it's really based on the architect, so or whoever designed the actual openings in that house or apartment. So what we do is, and this is kind of a good segue for starting a business. What we did, we didn't have any investors or anything. Me and my buddy put down $3,000. Really, just my buddy. I didn't have any money. And so what we did was, I made this first website. I used WooCommerce, which is a plugin for
Woo's great.
WordPress.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's free, open source. There are a couple plugins we had to pay for, but and I designed the first website. I put on YouTube on one screen and my computer on the other, or my website on the other, and I would just start hacking away at this. And it took about probably 2 or 3 weeks to get a website, but I didn't want to spend money on a web developer up front.
I'm going to Zach Morris time out you because this is what I preach to kind of everybody. I've taught myself all the web stuff I need to do, and we kind of did this on the previous podcast episodes where there's someone on YouTube that wants a little bit of glory and wants to be able to teach people how to do this stuff. This shit is free. Your time maybe at that point, right?
But you can do it at night when you're not on shift or anything like that.
And people go, oh, well, I fucking work, I work 40 hours a week. Well, fuck you. Like,
It's kind of fun, quite frankly. Once you get into it, it's you're going to be watching TV or doing whatever anyway.
It's a puzzle. Do you like puzzles? I think most people do.
It's a creepy way to ask it.
Do you, hey, do you like puzzles? Check out this overcoat. No, it's one of those things. I think most people do like a puzzle in a certain way, and that's kind of how I treat it. I'm like, all right, I can figure this out. This is a game of Tetris of sorts, or Zelda or whatever I loved growing up. It's just a different kind of scenario. Can I sit down and watch a YouTube video, basically pause, try to do it, go back, look at it, pause, go do the Woo plugin, pause, oh, here's how to do SEO. The shit is out there for free, and we literally have everything at our fingertips. And like, I kick myself for not learning a language in the same direction. Like, why am I not doing this? It's not expensive, and they've made it a lot easier to understand. Why am I not doing that? In the same way, like I tell people when they start up, just get a Squarespace site and start. Just go. Just start. They have videos on how to do everything. It's insane. Like, it's super easy. Can you attach a file to an email? Well, then you can probably figure this out.
Yeah.
Can you not follow directions? Is your ADD so bad? Well, it hasn't been during the conversation that I usually have with my friends at a bar.
Yeah, right.
Because they're like, I want to be this. I want to do this. And they're all in it. And then I go, well, if you could talk about this for 30 minutes with me at a bar, you have enough attention span to figure out. You're not a web developer by nature, right?
Not at all.
Right.
And make the first one you do as simple as possible.
Yep.
And just, take some pictures, put them in a file folder on your desktop, and just organize them so hey, in general, this is what I want it to look like. I want a slider on the front page that people can click a little arrow and see multiple pictures, or don't even have that. Just have a picture. You just have to organize the content in your head, and then doing the web page is,
and then
as
check
easy
on your
as
phone.
can be.
And then check on your phone. That's my only other thing. Like, for very, very basic. Most people are on their phone. If they're going to find you, it might be, it probably be 60% of your audience, no matter what you're doing. Make sure it doesn't look like shit on your phone. Basically.
And when you get WordPress, there's a lot of themes you can use. You want a mobile responsive theme so that when you create your website, there's thousands or tens of thousands of these themes pre-made, so you don't have to really use CSS or change the color scheme of your theme at all. Just make sure it's a mobily responsive one so that when people drag and change their device size, everything kind of stays streamlined.
And back to taking pictures of a product that you don't have professional photography, like, because there is that whiteout kind of professional photography. Like, you can do a lot of stuff with an iPhone and like a desk lamp. Like, it's not, you don't have to be like, look, they're not gonna be 100% professional. Only photographers will call you out. But in the beginning, if you have a product and you're like, all right, I just need a couple of IKEA lamps, and then I can set up the iPhone in a certain manner, or some kind of borrow your buddy's nice phone or whatever if you don't have one, if you're Boost Mobile. Like, you can take pictures of product and it'll come out pretty close.
And so, like, our big breakthrough moment was right after I put that website together. We had the first couple of prototypes done, and I found somebody. I said, the person who did our prototypes, hey, how much if I send you a order, would you charge us? They said $70 to sew it up. And then I'm providing the material, the straps, and the soundproofing layer, and they're providing the fabric. So we put a little business agreement together. And I took some pictures in my house on my phone, uploaded them to the website, and within that first couple of weeks, we got our first sale. And I was like, hey, and I couldn't believe anybody put their credit card into this website, quite frankly, because I'm probably a worse web developer than anybody who would try to get this done. And it was just kind of, it wasn't, real, I guess, smooth looking on the page. And also our cost was about $200. It's one thing if you're trying to sell something for $30 or $50 or set up appointments or whatever it is, you can get a website to get it very quickly and easily.
Right.
If you want somebody to put in a credit card for $200, you need to make sure it looks at least semi-legit.
It's got to look legit. Yeah.
And what year are we talking? How far back?
So this was October 2013. So basically just 2 years ago.
Okay.
And so in that first year, we got $5,000 in sales. Last year, I brought on a web developer full-time, my partner, Zach Levine, and he has really transformed the whole website. Now, see, if you want something as clean looking as what we have now, that you do need to bring in a professional or spend a lot more time. And we're doing a lot of custom JavaScript and stuff like that.
Yeah, call Zach Levine or tocoworks.com. Anytime you need to get a hold of me, law@tocoworks.com.
100%.
I have to put our own plug for doing it as well. But we have freelance guys that we call for different areas. Some guys are better with online stores. Some guys are better with kind of media sites and whatnot. But here's another good facet of doing that, because some people go, I can't do web design. I can't even start that. And it's like bullshit. Like doesn't mean you're gonna do it forever. Like now you're delegating out, but now you can talk his language. Now you're like, hey, maybe you're intermediate, basic to intermediate, like knowledge of web design, but now you can go, hey man, can we get this plugin? I know that exists. I don't know how to articulate it, but I'm looking for this kind of thing. And he'll be like, great, yeah, I know what you're talking about. There's a WooCommerce plugin. We just put it in, that kind of thing. Yeah. You think does that help? I always feel like
enormously, and two languages, the HTML and CSS, is just like, hey, what is on the site and what does it look like? I can do those relatively well now, but for JavaScript and PHP, when you're doing database calls and things like that, that's a whole nother level. Yeah. And once it gets custom scripted, now I'm scared to touch anything. I told him that the other day. He's like, you remember how to do this? You used to do all this all the time. I'm like, it's changed, man. Now there's so much custom script in there.
Well,
but it does help. It does help quite a bit to be able to communicate like that.
Plus, management-wise, let's say he leaves for a reason you can't handle. I always think about anybody you work with, what happens when they exit. And same with a product. Any product I buy that's kind of expensive or something like that, what's the repair on it? Like I was looking at solar panels, and I was like really into it for a while, and then I'm like, how do you repair those? You can't call anybody really. There's not many guys that exist that do that, and if they do in the Southeast, they're expensive, or you just have to buy new ones. So you kind of like, that's kind of how I think about a car. If you get a BMW, you're going to be in the fucking shop all the time. Sure. And employee-wise, and I'll get kind of to what you're talking about hiring the right people or partnering with the right people, is like if he exits, let's say your web developer or someone that's integral to what you're doing does exit, you still have enough knowledge to poke around in there. And you got to be the boss that can kind of touch on everything and understand the language enough, so when you have to get someone else in there, that you're like, okay, I know the basic structure of this, but I need you to come in, and this is where we were gone. This is where we left off, kind of thing. Is that something you think about, or
and same thing with the manufacturing side? So like when we were able to scale our sales by making a much cleaner website and having people customize it much more easily, we realized you can't just send these custom orders out to a factory every time. It takes too much time to communicate it. And then the customer comes back and says, hey, we don't want cream, we want pewter or something like that, different color. Oh, we already made that. Oh, crap, do we have to pay them for that? What's the, logistically, how do you handle that? So we actually opened up our own little facility in South Tampa, off Cypress and Rome. And I was building the curtains myself for a while, so the same kind of deal with the website and with production. You do need to get your hands dirty at least for a while. But the money problem that most startups have, or CEOs, founders of new companies, is, how do we fund this? Well, we really didn't. With that $3,000 when we got that first order, then we paid for the material to make that order. So we were always cash flow positive, and that's something that, exactly. So you
didn't go to Fish Lips and like, fuck yeah, make it rain, bitch. What's up?
We did not do that, and there were times when it was scary. We got a bunch of orders, and we said, hey, instead of paying $4 a yard for fabric, If we outlaid us $10,000 in cash, we can get it for $3 a yard.
Okay.
Well, that's a huge investment when you're a small company, you know. So $30,000 later, you know, we have a large stock of fabric in inventory. But you have to you have to believe that you're going to keep getting sales,
Right.
and then you can really start hitting real profitability.
Right.
So over the past 3 years, we went from 5,000 in sales to 200,000 last year, and now we're on pace for 600K this year.
Nice.
And
That's great.
And now we're starting to look for some of those real investors. Casey got us in touch with an investment group down here, and we're looking to scale both our production facility, but also international sales, things like that, where you get started and you start learning as you go, and then before long you look back and say, hey, we actually have a real company here with a real org chart and, you know, a profit and loss statement and stuff like that.
It's weird how quickly that happens, but also you're here on a Sunday, we're here on a Sunday. I mean, it's the thing of like, we like doing this podcast because this is what we like talking about anyway. There's a good chance, you know, we would have brunch, lunch, whatever, on a Sunday to talk about.
There'd be food involved.
Well,
there's no doubt.
You don't get that lion's growl without any of that. But it's one of those things where we like talking about that, and it doesn't feel as like, fuck, I gotta get up, I'm gonna do this. Like, I enjoy doing this podcast and talking to, you know, people like yourself, but it's one of those things where you're I think you said off air before we started, like, you're going to go from here and go hit another facility because you got to touch all the bases. You got to be the Joe Madden, the general manager of.
We miss you, Joe.
Yeah, that's Caleb's relative, huh?
Yeah, well, that might come up in some future episodes here, but
he's the guest we're going for. We're going to try to see if we can wrangle him in here.
Nice.
I ran into him at a car repair shop and talked his ear off. So he was like, okay, okay. No, he actually is pretty cool. He gave me he started giving me places to go in Chicago, and I was like, oh, this doesn't feel like a one-way conversation kind of thing. Anyway, side note, what's it called? So you get in this zone where, like, you're working like Saturdays, Sundays. This is what we talk about a lot. There's no off days really. Like, we have Thanksgiving coming up, and I know maybe Thursday I'll try to take my head out of it, but I won't be able to. But I'll do my best not to check my phone, and like I'll write notes. Basically, that might be the most I'll do. How do you find the work-life balance kind of thing? Because it is one of those things. You being the entrepreneur is great. You have autonomy. You make the decisions. People say you make your own schedule, but you really just doubled whatever full-time job you used to have before instantly. And while it sucks doing your own accounting or doing your own inventory or doing like just the web designing in the beginning or something like that, or fulfilling the orders, that's the other part of the e-commerce part, is taking the order and making it streamlined to get out. You know, tell me about I'm going to get a beer, but I'm going to be listening. Tell me about the work-life balance, because that is huge for a lot of people that want to start up.
Well, for us, we actually also have full-time jobs as well. Now, not our employees who work at a production facility and sales and marketing, et cetera, but myself and my other co-founder who's still involved in the business, we still have full-time jobs. So yes, that does become something where I'm trying to make sure I'm giving them everything they need in my full-time position, but then nights and weekends, or if you have the ability to work from home, that's a major, benefit as well. 4-hour work week is kind of where I started my first, foray into entrepreneurship.
Yeah, a little Ferris in there.
I hate Ferris.
Well,
that's why
I like Ferris.
I like Ferris. He likes Ferris. He loves him. He has a man crush on him.
Well, that's not true.
That Mike's fucking up. I just don't believe in that. It's a great idea, 4-hour work week, but it starts there. But how does that? It's not really. This is why we started this podcast. because it didn't feel realistic.
Well, for us, or for me specifically, what I loved about 4 Hour Work Week and a lot of the books that he suggested, and I read it on my Kindle. I remember I always bookmark pages I want to go back and reread.
Sure.
And he has so many links in there to other types of podcasts, such as this.
Yeah.
Such as, you want to design your own physical product. Oh, you want it to be electromagnetic or something like that. Here's a list of all these electromagnetic firms, and they'll actually partner with you, maybe a $2,000 retainer, something very feasible. But
I didn't think about it like that because I got the paper version, and I was like, I guess that's the problem with that kind of thing, because you have to get off your ass, go
type it in,
and then before I know it, I'm on Pornhub, and then it's like, God damn it, what was I doing? What did I get on here for?
What I love
is that that's called 4 Hour Jerk Week.
Yeah.
Hey-o.
But what he has is a lot of actionable advice. So it's like, go do this week and give yourself these 4 things to do this week, which is you have a product idea. One thing that really bothers me is people who have these ideas and they never really go and see what is out there like it. And
brother,
even though your idea,
you're speaking our language, man.
It's
I knew we had them on for a reason.
Yeah.
These short-term goals you have to give yourself and keep yourself honest against them. And Casey knows more than anybody that I give very short, sometimes unrealistic, schedule goals. That's because if you miss them, hey, this might take 2 months. Let's try to get it done in 2 weeks, and you get done in 3 weeks or something like that. And just really push all the time for schedule. You really need to make sure you're hitting these goals. And I forget what book it was recently, but a goal without a timeline is just a dream. So it's just like, hey, you need to give yourself
Mockingjay. Yeah.
Is it Mockingjay?
Yeah,
that
part
sounds
2.
right.
Yeah. I saw the movie. Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. Like, you have to give yourself. We talk about the bad New Year's resolution, which is I'm gonna lose weight. That doesn't really work because it's not quantifiable. It has no dates really. I'm gonna lose 5 pounds every quarter for the next quarter of this year. That's an attainable goal because you can kind of see it. I'm going to go to church more. I'm going to be a better person. These aren't really goals. These are aspirations, but they're not goals, and there's no performance benchmark. So you can't just go, well, I'm going to soak up the Lord more or something like that. That doesn't really work in my head. I don't know. Someone told me that in high school, and it always stuck with me. I think it was my economics teacher.
Yeah. Well, and there are also cop-outs. I mean, we talked about that in a previous episode as well. Kind of, you're just buying yourself time when you say you're going to do these things. If there's not a plan behind it, if there's no foundation to it. If you just say, I'm starting a business. Did I tell you I'm starting a business? And you're just like, oh great, what are you starting? Oh, we're doing noise canceling curtains. Oh, that's awesome, man. Cool. It's like, when are you starting? It's like, I don't know, it's probably going to take a few months, probably, the next couple weeks or whatever. We're going to get everything going, and you're just buying yourself time to get somebody,
credit.
Yeah, to get somebody to be like, oh man, that's awesome. He's starting his own business. I'm so happy for everybody. Like, that's great. But there's nothing to show for it yet. There's no skin in the game, and you're just buying yourself time. And it's almost can become an excuse because you just have people thinking, oh, he's working hard on something. But until there's something to show for it, and until you've started making moves and making things happen, that's when, and that goes back to having a motor and to doing all this stuff.
Well, it's really about disappearing. I mean, you're not going to see your friends. You're not going to have that conversation a lot, actually, because you're not going to see as many people as you want. Like, you have to put the hours in. You can't be if you're someone that is social, that goes out. Like, I've been talking about it. Like, I've been in this office the last 5 or 6 Fridays until 9, 10, 11 night. It kind of sucks in the FOMO kind of way, but in another way, I'm way more satisfied doing this and working in a positive direction. And just like y'all, we started lean. We don't have a lot of overhead. You all have production overhead. Or not overhead, but you have production costs,
working capital, all those things you got to sink into it.
We don't have a lot of expenses, so it's like we're staying lean, but at the same time, don't ever get content with where we are.
And along your thought, Caleb, is all right. Did I get that right?
Yeah, Caleb. Yeah.
It was like the first time I'd say it out loud, I think. So I got
no. I was actually surprised.
I got nervous there.
No, you're good, man. You're good.
is that telling friends is kind of a good thing for me anyway, because it kept me honest.
Sure.
So like, I had these goals and I was like, you know what, guys, I started a business. I didn't talk about it before I did it, but once I did it, I didn't want to let myself cop out. So I told a lot of people, just said,
kind of put
I'm
yourself out there.
This. Yeah, exactly. And that way, if I failed, I would feel kind of bad about it,
Sure.
So it's kind of like
that means you have honest friendships. I mean, like there's a lot of fake friendships, right? But I love being friends with comics because they will call you out on your shit. Like, no matter how despicable they are, they'll be like, I thought you said you were going to do this thing. And I was like, fuck, shit. And he's like, yeah, you're a piece of shit. I'm like, yeah, damn it, I am. So I think those are honest friendships, and your best friends will call you out on that, hopefully. Some will be too skittish to do it, but I think that is important. Like, I'm going to lose this amount of weight. I'll post it on Facebook so everybody sees it. So I hopefully get called out. I do get the wagon circled when I'm like, yeah, well, I couldn't do it because, craft beer and everything. Like
It's just the economy right now.
Yeah.
Just couldn't get around to it.
Obamacare, like it's just tough nowadays. What? Yeah, let's go to Buffalo Wild Wings for sure.
I've got to go to a $15 an hour minimum wage meeting. I can't make it.
Right.
Sorry.
I'll be replaced by robots soon. So, man, this has flown by. It's been 45, so we try to get in that 45 to an hour wheelhouse. It sounds like you've got a busy day. I am taking the rest of the afternoon off to drink and watch football and play spades. What's up? Yeah, I'm a white guy. Played spades.
Sounds tough. Dominoes after, or
no. I couldn't get my other white guy friends to play dominoes because they don't know how.
you need a Puerto Rican in the group. That's what you need.
Well, we have a guy, Matt Fernandez, who's one of the funniest comedians on one of the funniest comedians I know, but also on Twitter, probably my funniest friend at Fat Hernandez. Look it up. He doesn't count because he's just as white as he's just like Powder. Remember the movie Powder?
Yeah.
Love Powder.
Like that white.
Are you saying he's
movie.
Puerto Rican though?
He should be, but he's
Okay.
white. He's just a white Puerto Rican.
Yeah.
But not albino.
Yeah, not albino and no special powers, but that white. Like we have one of these picnic table fold outs until we get a real conference table, like this white, shale white. Well, all right. I don't know if there's a weird shift from technical difficulties, but we're back. What's it called? What I wanted to get into was, and I think about this for our company, and I think it's undervalued in a lot of companies, is hiring the right people, getting the right people to work with you, for you. I don't know. Do you have a philosophy on this? Do you have, I'll while you think about that, I'll give you kind of what I think is, basically like, my wife works for a huge company. It's a healthcare company. She talks about almost the Office Space syndrome, where she's getting people that are, it's very data heavy what she works in, and she gets a lot of people that just have no social, they're almost Asperger's-y in a way, but
not a lot of feel.
Not a lot of feel, but not the Asperger's-y like Howard Hughes entrepreneurial, like I know how to do this data set and I do it well and I know how to code it. And when she talks about her, I hate this term, the corporate culture, but I just think it's fucked out. But when she talks about it, it weighs on her. And I remember working at a mutual fund company, and they were getting to the point where they were just getting to that really corporate environment. Oh, you should have been here 3 years ago. It was totally different. It was fun. You got in at the wrong time kind of deal. It's like when I do stand-up at a club and they're like, you should have been here last week. It was amazing. It's like, thanks a lot. I can fucking, what does that do for me?
Yeah.
That doesn't do shit. That makes me be like, oh, I should have promoted better or something like that. But what I'm saying is, do you have a philosophy? Because I think like HR is underrated in the sense that we should just get the people that do it right. And our philosophy is, I want problem solvers. I also want people that play sports because they've had to figure out how to work with a team. Even if they're a golfer, they still kind of had to figure out how to how to maneuver that system, like an individual sport. But like at the same time, I feel like I just want people that can figure it out, much like you were talking about the web design, because I've been there, or web development, I should say. And I don't know if you have that philosophy, if you've thought it out. So I don't want to put you on the spot. I want to give you some time.
No, I got a couple of thoughts on the topic. And Jack Welch, Winning, is my favorite HR book of all time.
Is that the GE?
Nice.
Yeah, the GE CEO. Just amazing how he has, instead of annual reviews, it's twice a year. It's very cut and dry. Hey, here's what I'm hoping to get out of you, and here's what I think you're capable of. And then, really strong feedback to the people, because if they're not hitting their goals or what you want out of them, instead of having that really awkward, hey, you're fired one day kind of conversation, it's they manage themselves out, or they know that they're not hitting the criteria you're requiring or expecting. But yeah, and I know the other management guru, if that's what you want to call it, Peter Drucker, about
the definitive Drucker.
And like the knowledge worker is the way of the future. I don't care about 8-hour work days. And in fact, with our production team, if they finish their work early, I pay them for the rest of the day. They can go home at 2:00, and I'll pay them till 6, because I don't want them to slow down arbitrarily so that they have enough work to do. And a lot of people will do that. Same thing. Casey's in the room here, but I don't. She works from home. I work from home.
Hey, that's Casey.
Yeah,
she's on the mic. Hey.
And it's like, I don't care about 8-hour work days. What I care about is if you get a big sale in 3 hours one day, let's celebrate, have a good time. If you're on the cusp of a big sale or a big marketing campaign and you need to work 12 or 14 hours one day, then that's what you got to do to get it done, But it's all about, what are we actually creating? What value, not how many hours are you in an office. And
right.
That's something I want to get away from whenever possible.
I agree. I was telling my wife, I was like, I want to get to the point where I can kind of, we can do some kind of flex time thing where I can come in at 10 and kind of get out of here, at 4, 5, 6. But it's going to take a while for sure. I know that. But it's at the same time, I was like, you want the work to be satisfying, and you want your employees to want to do it, like feel a part of it. Do you do any rah stuff? Do you have to do any of that, or is it just kind of almost pheromones where people are just kind of like absorbing, like, yes, I believe in this. I'm excited. I feel like he has the best interest in us, kind of thing.
Well, one thing we're doing now, which I'm really looking forward to, is actually building office space in the factory, so I can be up there a lot more and interact with the team. But we're kind of
like a Chinese manufacturer. No, yeah, like just with a glass window,
just like that,
or the opposite. Either way.
And so what we'll do is, just Casey had a Friendsgiving last week where
that's
I
where
met
we
you,
met,
and the whole team was there. Really, now we do have 2 other team members who live in Winter Haven, so it's a little bit of a drive. So we don't drink beers as much with them, but I'll go up to the factory on a Thursday afternoon and I'll have beers with everybody there.
Sure.
So we're friends in a way. One thing we've done, and something that I think we need to keep an eye on, is, obviously age discrimination is not what you want to have. But in general, being a younger manager, I'm trying to do a better job of finding people with experience in the field to join the team, because we have a mean age of our team is like 23 years old, or
Yikes.
26 probably. It's not that young, but it's very young, and so it's really a benefit sometimes to have different. I've never been a huge diversity proponent, but there is benefit to see lots of diversity.
I'll clear that up for you. Yeah, you don't want affirmative action for affirmative action's sake.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I mean. Is
that just the way you said that could have sounded? It could have been misconstrued. So
yeah. I hate to just go and throw diversity at a problem and, hey, it's going to solve it.
Right.
But you don't want to just hire one type of person either.
Right.
So that's one thing we're looking at as well, is trying to get other people involved in the business to get various perspectives.
Yeah, and I do that with mentors in a sense. Not mentors necessarily, but I've reached out to former bosses, professors, family friends. Hey, can I call on you if I'm there? They've got 30, 40 years experience that I don't have. I know I've got blind spots. I don't know where they are, kind of thing. So I'm trying to get ahead of some of those things as well. So do you have any of that where you're kind of looking at, you can call up someone who's had experience in this field that is more of a comrade than competition kind of thing, where like you can go, hey, I remember my old, professor at UF or something like that.
Well, I really sat in the back most of the time and didn't really talk to the professors very much.
I didn't either, but I had an entrepreneurship teacher that was like, the whole work was you go out and you fix these local businesses' problems.
Well, one thing I do have that's similar to that is I started a board of advisors about 6 months ago.
Okay.
And there are 4 people in the community that I really respect and with various areas of expertise. So there's a marketing guy. Jordan Brainer has a company here in town, Vocrio, which is like a startup hub, if you will, and manage or consulting and things like that. So I think he did a great job helping us get what we call our sales process framework down. Exactly where do prospects enter the pipeline? How do you follow up with them? What marketing materials do you need? Stuff like that. And I also have 3 other guys, 2 financial kind of focused and 1 legal. And so I'll call them all the time and say, hey, here's an idea, bounce it off them.
Right.
And what I'm really excited about now is this investment group that we're going through a due diligence process before their investment. But they just have amazing kind of insight into how to run a company. They've run 3 of them before. So it's like, hey, I don't really mind seating a couple board seats or giving up, some management control, because I trust that if their value is in the equity of the company, that's what they're going to care about, is really driving us to the next level of revenue and profitability.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's important. You got...
No, I was just saying that's great. I think that's a great way to get a little bit. I mean, you talk about that diversity. That's a great way to get a lot of different insight from people who, like you said, their expertise are just kind of not scattered around, but are just in different realms of the business. So just getting those different perspectives can kind of help to clear your mind a little bit, or maybe even positively clutter it if there is such a thing, just to kind of bring up new aspects that maybe you hadn't thought of yet.
Sure.
So I'm sure well, I should ask you this: how has that gone in the last 6 months of having them? Has that been something that you've seen huge benefit from so far? I mean, because that seems like it's going to be definitely more of a long-term effect. Have you seen it in the short term in the last 6 months with them?
Yes. One thing that happened is we had a business partner who got a big promotion at work and really wasn't able to support the business anymore. So in our operating agreement, we had kind of roles and responsibilities, percent equity, yada, yada. And our legal advisor was able to help us kind of find a way, and our partner, who is actually one of my best friends, and I'm going to hang out with him this afternoon, we found a mutually beneficial way to move his shares out, give him something for all the time and effort he put in, and use that money for this investment group that's looking to get involved. And without the legal team there, like moving all these unit shares, it would have been very cumbersome and probably overwhelming just for me to do that.
Oh, buddy. Yeah, I Thursday and Friday just did all our legal stuff.
Man,
knocked it out. It's fucking sucked. I felt like I was in a college exam, just like, God damn it, this is rough. But it's the world we live in. We want less lawyers, but there's more laws. So
and it's complex starting a business and understanding who owns what and who is in charge of liabilities. If you guys go under, who's on the hook for what. And that was like a big source of contention early on. I had all the liability.
Yep.
So, but then again, I owned most of the business, so it made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Right.
With our financial guy, about 4 or 5 months ago, Casey closed a big sale with an apartment complex up in Indiana. At Ball State University, they had mixed-use housing with bars and restaurants down below.
Muncie, Indiana? Ball State?
Was it Muncie? Yeah. Okay, there you go.
Fucking on top of shit. Yeah.
Well, all these drunk college kids, they're spilling out in the 2 a.m. trying to hook up or just be obnoxious, whatever it is.
That's how law knows Muncie.
Yeah. I fucking love Indiana. It is it's the northern Mississippi. It's fucking awesome.
Law's glowing right now for all the listeners that can't see his face. He's absolutely lit up.
First off, I'm fucking awesome at Carmen Sandiego.
I mean, you pulled Muncie out of your ass. I don't know how.
Yeah. But Indiana is just an awesome state because they just don't give a fuck. And Bloomington's awesome as well. Yeah. But you're going to use that. I'm sure you're going to use Muncie as the case study for now. Now you have, now you build off of that.
Right.
And now you take the dorm room this works successfully here. Now we have a case study. Now we can hit up every public university basically because Ball State's public, right? I think so.
Yeah, I believe so as well.
And so colleges will eat that up because it is an issue. Like if your RAs suck, which RAs all suck, but I mean like do their job like they're supposed to, there shouldn't be a lot of rambunctiousness. But if you can eliminate a lot of that with your product, I think that creates a lot of value.
Yeah.
And having that sale was great. We got a lot of customer validation. He bought the maintenance supervisor there, bought a curtain, tried it out, had these acoustic consultants come and say, hey, that really works. We want 300 of those. We said, okay, that's great news. But then we only took 50% up front, and the rest of it is accounts receivable. And then had to make a huge inventory purchase, yada, yada, to fulfill this order. And it took about 8 weeks to ship all of it. We had to make, 300 custom curtains. So I'm glad I had my financial advisor available. Not a personal wealth management guy or anything like that. This guy's a financial analyst for an investment company. And he says, I start getting scared because I see our cash reserves depleting very quickly until we get this account receivable.
Yep.
And we still have tons of inventory left over. So I'm like, this is going the wrong way. And he really talked me off the ledge, hey, this is working capital. This is how it works. Cash growth eats cash, you know? So you got to have those people there. And even though I wouldn't have done anything differently, I'm not certain. Maybe I would have just closed our doors. But he really, calmed me down and said, hey, this is a good thing. Short term, it doesn't look great, but long term, it helps a lot.
Right. And this is here how the actual schedule that I've been there where you're like, fuck, shit, what? All right, this is a good thing, but this is also a horrible thing because I haven't been in this territory. This is new water for me. So, but you sometimes you get flustered with that. You haven't even thought out the schedule of like how this will go down. The contract's not even signed technically, so you can adjust that. What's the net 15? What's the net 30 on it, or whatever you have in the contract with the client. And so I've been there, man. It sucks, and it's definitely one of those things.
It's stressful.
I've called some of my CFP buddies and been like, "Hey, walk me through this. I got a scenario for you." And so that's good that you have that community. We talk about that a lot. Have that community of people that you can call upon, and it'll come back to you as well. Sometimes I'll get a call, "Hey, we're looking to get branding from this company. I think we're getting screwed." And I'll be like, "Well, you are, but what's the value? What's the value proposition kind of thing?" So stuff like that comes back my way from them, which is good. All right, we've done over an hour. We could talk about this for literally, I don't know. It could be a filibuster if we keep it going. But
I'm ready for the first beer now too.
Let's
go.
We'll definitely
warmed up.
We'll definitely have y'all on again for sure. And then plug whatever. Residentialacoustics.com.
Yep. So
anything else?
You can Google residential acoustics, or it's residential-acoustics.com. And I don't know that this is the audience for plug-in our product unless you're looking for soundproof curtains, in which case come check them out.
I think it's a need for most people.
I think and this is what I did when I looked at the website. Law had told me about the company, but then I went on, and when I first heard about it, I was like, "Oh, that's cool." Like, I probably can't use it, but as I'm sitting here looking at a pretty stylish canvas covered window, I'm just thinking of all the ways that I would benefit from having these, whether it's getting better sleep, keeping light out, keeping noise out, just
lowering your AC bill.
Yeah, lowering your. Yeah,
that's my plug.
Yeah, absolutely, lowering your efficiency costs, and if you just go to the website, I guarantee you'll be able to envision one of these in your home in one way or the other. So yeah, I mean, kudos to you guys. You found an awesome niche. You filled a void in a marketplace, and it just looks like such a great product. So I wish you guys nothing but success, and I know we'll have you guys back on again and be able to talk some more business. For sure. It's going to be interesting. Like the next time we have you on, we'll see what happened since this episode, which will be fun. So for y'all, for Caleb, for me, I must give my other podcast website. I was about to say 3xopod.com and Triple Option Podcast. That's another college football one. Let's go tokaworks.com. Go on iTunes. Give us a 5-star, subscribe. Tell your friends and family. That's really where it starts. We've gotten such good feedback already, and we haven't done this very long, but
the people that have listened have been like, dude, this has actually been really beneficial. Where we're getting texts from friends, we're getting kind of hit up from strangers already. Where we're not, hey, we ain't no Joe Rogan, we ain't been on TV. We don't have any we don't have any film credits, TV credits, that we don't have that name out there. So it's been really awesome to see the feedback that actually can help, and people saying, hey, I sent this to my buddies. They've got what I call stoner ideas, where it's a great idea, but they got no execution. So it's really cool to hear that.
And if I could, instead of plugging my company, and I really want to plug what you guys are selling here, which is, action. If you got these stoner ideas, or you want to bring a service or a product to market, or whatever it is, give yourself a timeline. And I'm really liking a lot of our conversation here, which is,
for sure,
what we're on the same page is that you need to give yourself a schedule and figure out how you need the money to accomplish what you want, but just get it going. And, don't be afraid to tell people, but don't just tell people, do something about it.
Right. And now we strategize over drinks. All right. Thanks for coming.
All right. Thanks, guys.